Imagine, just for a second, waking up one day with this deeply unsettling realization. The realization that the life you've been living isn't actually yours. What if every decision you've made, every core belief you hold, even the burning desires that get you out of bed in the morning, didn't actually come from the deepest part of who you are? What if, instead, they were just kind of implanted there, put there by the expectations, the conditioning, and all those unseen influences of the world around you? Well, welcome to today. We're embarking on a pretty wild journey deep into the human mind.
So let me ask you, are you just playing a role? Seriously, think about it for a second. How much of your identity right now is a true, authentic reflection of who you are? And how much of it is just a carefully constructed mask, shaped by external pressures? You know, we so often go through life just reading from a script written by society, by our upbringing, or even by those lingering fears whispering in the back of our heads. We look for validation because we're basically taught that happiness comes from fitting in. But deep down, there's always this quiet unrest.
And that brings us to the profound insight of Carl Gustav Jung. He was an absolute pioneer of depth psychology. Now, Jung actually started out working really closely with Sigmund Freud, but he eventually broke away. He realized the mind was just far more vast, and frankly, far more mystical than Freud gave it credit for. Jung didn't believe that mental well-being was just about, adjusting to society's norms so you could comfortably fit in. Not at all. He saw psychological growth as a journey toward individuation. Basically, it's the process of venturing way down into the unconscious to uncover who we really are. He argued that life doesn't truly begin until we stop running from ourselves.
Section 1. The mask you wear. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it gets right to the root of things. To understand what it means to find yourself, we first have to peel back that outermost layer of the human psyche, like an onion, right? From the moment we enter the world, we're being conditioned. Think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you were just expressing yourself freely, totally uninhibited, only to be met with disapproval? Slowly but surely, we learn to tuck those messy parts of ourselves away just to gain approval. And that leads us straight to the persona. It's the face, the mask we present to the world to function. It's basically the psychological equivalent of your customer service voice or, your highly curated LinkedIn profile. And look, it's highly functional. It lets us navigate relationships and keep our jobs. But the danger here, the real trap, is when we identify so completely with this mask that we forget the real self beneath it. We start to actually believe we are the persona, and we completely lose track of the complex, brilliant reality hiding right underneath.
Part 2, confronting your hidden shadow.
Okay, so when we slip beneath the surface of our everyday awareness, we find a real dichotomy. Because here is a fundamental psychological truth you have to know. The parts of ourselves that we reject, they don't just magically disappear. They don't vanish just because we refuse to look at them. Instead, they go into hiding. They operate in the dark, secretly pulling the strings on our thoughts, our behaviors, and our emotional reactions. So on one side, we've got the persona, the polite, socially approved traits we show off. But on the other side, we have the shadow. The shadow is literally everything we've suppressed. It's holding our deeply buried fears, our unspoken desires, our vulnerabilities. And here's the crazy part. It even holds our hidden strengths, the talents and quirks we were told to downplay, so we wouldn't stand out too much.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever intensely disliked someone and you literally have no idea why? Or maybe you found yourself just completely triggered by some random behavior in a coworker or friend? Well, this is what Jung called projection. Think about the intense road rage you might feel when someone cuts you off in traffic. Very often, our unconscious mind is forcing us to see in others the exact carelessness or selfishness that we flat out refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. When we're really disturbed by certain qualities in other people, it's almost always because those exact same qualities exist within us, tucked safely away in our own shadow.
So the crucial takeaway here is that the shadow is not the enemy. Our natural instinct, of course, is to suppress it. We want to run away from the discomfort of facing our inner conflicts. But Jung's greatest insight was that true transformation only happens when we look into the depths of our unconscious and integrate that shadow. Notice that specific wording. We aren't eliminating the shadow, we are integrating it. Those rejected, messy parts, they're actually the missing pieces to our wholeness. By finally facing them, we unlock a profound source of personal power, authenticity, and real freedom.
Section 3, the archetypes within you. Okay, let's dive into this. Because peeling back this next layer takes us somewhere truly fascinating. Have you ever wondered why we constantly repeat the same patterns? Or why we're drawn to certain fears or desires, no matter how hard we consciously try to change them?
Well, Jung realized our identity isn't just shaped by our personal, everyday experiences. It's shaped by something far older, residing in a space he called the collective unconscious. Archetypes are these ancient, universal psychological blueprints that exist inside all of us. I mean, we see them literally everywhere. The hero's journey, the wise mentor, the shadowy villain, they show up in our myths, our religions, and even our own bizarre dreams. But here's the kicker. They aren't just fictional characters. They are incredibly active forces, constantly playing out in our daily thoughts and shaping our identities from behind the curtain.
Let's break down a few of the core ones. First up, the hero. This is the part of you that longs for purpose, the part that seeks to overcome obstacles. But, as we know, the hero is always accompanied by the shadow, those repressed traits we just talked about. And for the hero to actually evolve, they must learn from the shadow. Then we have the anima and the animus. The anima is the hidden feminine side within men, representing deep intuition and emotion. The animus is the hidden masculine side within women, representing logic and assertiveness. Now, this isn't about physical gender at all. It's entirely about balancing energies. A person who can balance their sharp logic with their deep intuition, that person taps into just immense psychological strength. Part 4. The illusion of self.
All right, we are now entering the absolute deepest layer of the psyche, and this requires confronting what is arguably the greatest illusion of all. See, most of us find a lot of comfort in the belief that our identity is fixed. It's an unchanging thing. We define ourselves by our name, our job title, our past mistakes, right? But what if the version of you that you identify with right this second is just a tiny, localized fragment of something unimaginably larger? Jung, along with many other great thinkers, understood that the self is not static. We have to contrast the ego against the true self here. The small, static ego builds walls. It creates borders, constantly saying, this is who I am, and this is absolutely who I am not. It keeps you safely tethered to familiar patterns, but the true self is fluid. It is a vast, interconnected field of consciousness carrying the wisdom of generations. It has absolutely limitless potential for transformation.
Now, I want to be super clear about something. The ego is not evil. It's not the bad guy. It serves a very practical, necessary purpose in helping us navigate our daily reality, pay our bills, and stay safe. However, clinging to that ego as your absolute soul identity, that is the greatest obstacle to your self-discovery. When you finally let go of the rigid idea of who you think you are, you suddenly unlock infinite possibilities for who you can actually become. Section 5, the path to wholeness. So, the big question. How do we actually do this? How do we step beyond all these illusions and uncover the unconscious forces shaping our lives? Well, let's transition from deep psychological theory into some real practical application. Jung provided a roadmap to individuation, a way to stop living as strangers to ourselves. And this brilliantly illustrates that path in 4 actionable steps. Step 1, embrace the unknown. You have to lean into discomfort with curiosity rather than resistance, because that unknown space is where transformation actually happens. Step 2, release your attachment to labels. You are not just your job or your past. Letting go of those rigid identities creates the necessary space for growth. Step 3, listen to the unconscious. Start tuning into your dreams, your gut instincts, and even synchronicities in your life. They are literally messages trying to guide you. And finally, step 4, surrender to the process. Shedding a lifetime of conditioning isn't some quick weekend project, guys. It is a lifelong, beautiful unfolding. If there's one ultimate revelation I want you to take away from all of this, it's this. You are never truly lost. Finding yourself isn't about constructing some brand new, shiny identity or traveling to a final destination. It is simply an ongoing journey of remembering. That profound, limitless self you have been desperately seeking, it's been sitting quietly within you this entire time, just waiting for you to peel back the layers and finally acknowledge it. So, the choice is entirely yours. Will you continue living as just a fraction of your true potential, bound by old fears, external expectations, and the comforting but limiting illusions of your ego? Or will you take that step? Will you step completely into the unknown, embrace every single part of your shadow and your light, and unlock the limitless being you are always meant to become? Think about it, because remember, life does not truly begin until you find yourself.